Chapter 9 continued. The biological factory. Raising and training animals may be expensive, but what happens when we go down the evolutionary scale to the level of bacteria, viruses, and other microorganisms? Here we can harness life in its primitive forms, just as we once harnessed the horse. Today, a new science based on this principle is rapidly emerging, and it promises to change the very nature of industry as we know it. Our ancestors domesticated various plant and animal species in the prehistoric past, says biochemist Marvin J. Johnson of the University of Wisconsin. But microorganisms were not domesticated until very recently, primarily because man did not know of their existence. Today he does, and they are already used in this large-scale production of vitamins, enzymes, antibiotics, citric acid, and other useful compounds. By the year 2000, if the pressure for food continues to intensify, biologists will be growing microorganisms for use as animal feed and eventually human food. At Uppsala University in Sweden, I had the opportunity to discuss this with Arne Tiselius, Tiselius, the Nobel Prize-winning biochemist who is now president of the Nobel Foundation itself. Is it conceivable, I asked, that one day we shall create in effect biological machines, systems that can be used for productive purposes and will be composed not of plastic or metal parts, but of living organisms? His answer was roundabout but unequivocal. We are already there. The great future of industry will come from biology. In fact, one of the most striking things about the tremendous technological development of Japan since the war has been not only its shipbuilding but its microbiology. Japan is now the greatest power in the world in industry based on microbiology. Much of their food and food industry is based on processes in which bacteria are used. Now they produce all sorts of useful things, amino acids for example. In Sweden, everybody now talks about the need to strengthen our position in microbiology. You see, one need not think in terms of bacteria and viruses alone. The industrial processes in general are based on man-made processes. You make steel by a reduction of iron ore with coal. Think of the plastic industries, artificial products made originally from petroleum. Yet it is remarkable that even today, with the tremendous development of chemistry and chemical technology, there is no single foodstuff produced industrially which can compete with what the farmers grow. In this field, and in a great many fields, nature is far superior to man, even to the most advanced chemical engineers and researchers. Now, what is the consequence of that? When we gradually get to know how nature makes things, and when we can imitate nature, we will have processes of an entirely new kind. These will form the basis for industries of a new kind, a sort of biotechnical factory, a biological technology. The green plants make starch with the aid of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the sun. This is an extremely efficient machine. The green leaf is a marvellous machine. We know a great deal more about it today than 2 or 3 years ago, but not enough to imitate it yet. There are many such machines in nature. Such processes, Tiselius continued, will be put to work. Rather than trying to synthesize products chemically, we will in effect grow them to specification. One might even conceive of biological components in machines, in computers for example. It is quite obvious, Tiselius continued, that computers so far are just bad imitations of our brains. Once we learn more about how the brain acts, I would be surprised if we could not construct a sort of biological computer. Such a computer might have electronic components modelled after biological components in the real brain. At some distant point in the future, it is conceivable that biological elements themselves might be part of the machine. Precisely such ideas have led Jean Forestier, the French economist and planner, to state flatly, "Man is on the path towards integrating living tissue in the processes of physical mechanisms. We shall have in the near future machines constituted at one and the same time of metal and of living substances. In the light of this," he says, "the human body itself takes on new meaning."